Do folks, how you doing? Just a quick one. I thought today we might have a chat, but I'm probably going to bounce, but we might have a chat a little bit about the scales of justice, or is it the scales of justice, or is it the scales of the lizards? At the end of the fucking day, if there's a reptilian entity in the world, the courts are run by it. The whole system is. But I mean, we all have a reptilian side to us. We have the reptilian brain and the DNA. So reality is, what were we? What did they create us out of? What did they create us to be? Because the fact is that you look at history, yes, we've been created, we've been modified all the way as far back as you can go. Vaccinations, inoculations, injections, they've always been working on us, always. Don't know how late it was in your own life that you found out. To me, it was I was around about 40. So yeah, it's there, it happens. Life's a bitch and then you die. Life's like a shit sandwich. The more bread you've got, the less shit you taste. Seems to be for the elitists anyway. But the reality is not about how much you have or what you have. It's about knowledge and confidence. That's what you need. And with the knowledge, it's not so much a knowledge of what is and what isn't, because although that's very, very important, what is and what isn't, the most important thing is what works and what doesn't, because there are so many people spouting things that are just the same thing as been spouted for years. Now I watched a couple of the more modern people telling you how it is over the last couple of days, and one thing I've noticed, they're not telling you anything fucking new. They're telling you the same shit that Free Man on the Land told you a long, long time ago. They're just parroting old shit, and they're catching a new audience who think that they're the knowledgeable ones, but they're not the fucking knowledgeable ones. They're only good for parroting shit. They're parroting shit that sounds good because it's technically right, but doesn't fucking work and won't work. Won't work. It's fucking quite bizarre watching it. It really is. People need to wake up to this shit. There's a lot of stuff going on out there now. One of the main problems is the system's bollocksed. The system is totally corrupted, and time's gone on, and it's got more corrupted, and it really has. So people who think that they're going to go in there and just say, I don't consent to a court, you're deluded. You can't refuse to give any name, because it's not a court of law when you're talking about the lower courts. It's commerce. They're conducting commerce. That's all they're doing, is conducting commerce. So when you start talking law, they're putting their fingers in the ears and going la 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 la. And that's the cold hard truth of it. No matter how much you shout about right and wrong and the law, they don't care. And what's worse, they don't need to care. They don't need to care. Now, we at Unchained Remedy and Project Jericho, we've been pushing the boundaries, and we've been doing lots of things, and there's obviously myself, and there's a couple of others with real good minds, and we've had some real good tests on things. And what we've seen in the lower courts, not talking magistrates, just wouldn't have anything to do with a magistrate ever. I don't care what they're going to send me. I'm not going, I'm not doing, I'm not going to be a part of that shit. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I get loads and loads of people say to me, but what if I just say, and can I just say, and the answer's no. No, always. So if you're asking how to deal with something in a magistrate's court, there's where you're going wrong right at the start, because there's nothing you can do in a magistrate's court. Nothing. Let me say it again, nothing. The reality is, and it's a cold hard reality, like I say, they're conducting commerce. Here's what happens when you go into a magistrate's court. It don't matter how you wrap it around and how you're wording it, you're not giving them consent, you're the living flesh and blood man, you're the beneficiary. It don't matter how you're wording it. They're going la. They can't hear you because it's a totally different jurisdiction. It's not what you're doing. That is the wrong venue. But the reality is, by walking in those doors, you gave them legal joinder. Now, it is the right jurisdiction then, because you are the legal fiction. No matter whether you like it or not, you're the trustee. You can go in there and say, I'm the man, I'm not the legal fiction, but the reality is the man wouldn't have walked in there, so you fucking are. If you walk in there, you are the legal fiction. It's as simple as that. If you walk into a county court, you are the legal fiction. Now, we've seen some good folks go through county courts lately, and going through them heavy and hard, and with fantastic preparation. And the reality is the judges have agreed with them in most cases, and then found against them. Why? Because they're not conducting law, conducting commerce. There's no commerce in letting you have your way. They don't make no money at that shit, so they can't let you. So they say things like hands are tied, and it's absolutely insane that you think you're there conducting law and they think they're there conducting commerce, and never the twain shall meet. So in the end of the days, it's about what they say, because you're there under their rules, their game. You've gone in to play their game. It's like stepping onto the tennis court and asking where the golf club is. It's just fucking ridiculous. So if you've got issues in the lower courts, you don't want to be walking in them places. I would serve them notice, I would deal with it, and maybe take something in at a higher court. Those that are on Project Jericho are going to have some fantastic work coming at the minute, and that could show you the way if you've got the nous to actually go through with it, or the balls, should I say. It's all confidence. Everything's confidence. When the knowledge is put in front of you, the only thing left is confidence, and confidence is gained by doing. Now, you can argue the toss, like I say, with any court, but if you're going to argue the toss with the lower courts, you're going to be in trouble. There are only two courts. I've said it before, I've said it again, I'll say it a million times, I've said it a million times. There are only two courts: Queen's Bench and Chancery Division of Queen's Bench. That is literally it. They are the only two courts there are for you. So you've got to take your pick. Do you want to actually go and deal with this shit, or do you want to be bounced about? Because back to what happens in a magistrate's court, you go in there, you deny them jurisdiction, you deny them consent. At this point, technically, they should throw it out. They should throw the case out, whether you've expressed the trust or pointed out that they are the trustees and you're the beneficiary, or whether you've just denied them consent and told them you're a man, you live in, or whatever. At that point, they should walk away. They're not going to. They're not going to. What they'll do is reconvene for another date. This is putting you on the merry-go-round. Now, you deny or accept that date, it doesn't matter, there is a new date. You're going to go away, and you've given them joinder. If you don't turn up, they're going to come for you, put a warrant out for you, a fake warrant all the same, but a warrant. If you're not going to take it to a higher court, this is what you're going to deal with. They're going to pull you back in again. You're going to not give them any consent again. They're going to make a new date, probably at a different court by this point, and magistrates, not court, and then just bounce you around. And they will just keep going, because every single time you walk in there, you're paying them. They're getting paid. That's commerce. That's what they're conducting. So it don't matter if it's a million times that you're going back to court. They'll just keep adjourning it and making another one. Why not? Because that's how they get paid. So you're gonna, at some point, you're gonna fuck up. And as soon as you fuck up, you've given them joinder, they do you. Bang, gotcha. And that's what happens in a court, in a magistrate's court. And it's the only thing that's going to happen. You're either going to give them joinder or consent at the time without knowing it, or they're just going to bounce you around on the merry-go-round until. Now, I've seen this happen for years and years and years. This game go on with the magistrates and just keep making new ones. This is why you don't go in there in the fucking first place, because sooner or later you're going to have 10 fucking court cases. If you're going to go to one, you're going to have 10, unless you're going to go in there and say guilty. And you should never ever say those words. You should never say not guilty either. You would say no case to answer, or you'd call demurrer. At the end of the day, it's there is no case to answer, and that's what it is. There's no case to answer. But you would not stand there in a magistrate's court and say it. You would go into a Crown Court because you've got a true judge there, although he's still conducting commerce. When you stand and tell him you're the living flesh and blood, he will run. He absolutely will run. He'll come back out in his trousers, with his trousers changed, should I say, not in his trousers. He was in his trousers the first time, hopefully. Mind you, maybe not, he may have just been wearing his frock. But he'll leave. If you do it right, he's going to leave. You're flesh and blood man, you've got blood running through your veins, electrons firing through your head. I require remedy. He's going to up and he's going to go. Because you've put him in an untenable position, he's in dishonour. So he's going to run out, he's going to change his jurisdiction, he's going to come back, and you're going to state the next time, living flesh and blood man, you require maintenance and cure. And he's going to do one again. Now if he comes back on a third time, I mean, you can go into the fact that you're a sovereign man, there's nobody standing between you and your God, but you're not going to need to, because there's no way in the world he's going to come back a third time. This is in at least a Crown Court level. There's no way in the world he's going to come back a third time and ask you your name again. Because if you do go into the fact you're a sovereign man and there's nobody standing between you and your God, then you've put him totally in dishonour. He's lost his job, he's lost his position in the boys' club, he's out. He's ostracised from his bullshit. Excuse me a second. Ooh. So he will not ever make that mistake. He's going to come out the third time and ask you what you want. Now that's the quickest and most simple way of doing it. Now people say, oh, it don't work, but it does. And I'll tell you how I know it does, because I've watched it with my own fucking eyes. Even in the early days when I was in this, I watched somebody do it. But only start off, they got him on the I require remedy. They ran out, or the judge ran out, should I say, and then they defaulted into the old free man on the land way, which is he who leaves the battlefield first loses by default. As the highest power remaining at court, I dismiss the case, and then they walked out. Now you can do that, you can absolutely do that. At the time, this was a woman that I knew, and she was under instruction from a boyfriend who was pretty damn good at what he did. He knew his shit, and the judge ran. So this was said, and we all just walked out, and that was it, because that's where our knowledge base was at the time. She walked away from there. Data subject access request, the police and the courts. Is there a warrant out for the arrest to this name? The answer came back as no. It was over. It was genuinely over, because the case was dismissed by the highest power at court. That was in a Crown Court with a Crown Court judge. So this was done. Now, with hindsight, looking back, that's a perfect opportunity just to stand there and wait for the judge to come back, because if you don't dismiss it, he will. He absolutely will. Now, the reason she was in there at the time, a while ago, like I say, it was for fracking, the fracking protesting. Now, she wasn't one of the fracking protesters. She'd gone up there to join some mates that were doing it, and they were. Now, a few of them had got arrested. Now, this is the way she played it, and she was dealt with first, and she walked out of there. And as she walked out, the judge obviously came back in and then dealt with the others and gave them everything from prisons to fines. I think there's about 16 of the fuckers. And they all got slammed after they watched her walk out, which must have been interesting. But the reality is, knowledge is power, and if you don't use your knowledge, you've got no fucking power. And if you haven't got the balls to stand there and do it, you've got no power. If you haven't got any confidence, you haven't got any power. So you need to up this shit. You need to up your confidence, you need to up your knowledge to a degree, but I believe there's enough knowledge out there. It's just the fact that people do it the wrong way, and you've got a bunch of fucking idiots, like I said, parroting really old shit that didn't work then and won't work now. That's one of the main problems at the minute. You've got people muddying the waters, you've got people talking about technicalities. On a technical basis, this is right in law. Now, I say all the time, technically, it's this, but, and this is a real big important, because a real big important point, because that but is fucking huge. Technically, you say this, they can't do that. They'll just go around it. They won't do that exactly, and then they'll do this, and then you won't know what to say, and then they've got joinder, and then they can do that. people say things like, it didn't work, when they've got the right path, because they didn't deliver it right, they didn't do the right thing. And then they're saying it does work when they've never fucking tried it, and they're listening to fucking idiots who haven't tried it either, who just think technically this is right. And I promise you, there's a fuck ton of them. There's most of the people offering you remedies, most of them you think are heavy hitters. If you look at the history, they just came out from fucking nowhere just a year or so ago, or a couple of years ago. Now, I'm not knocking them for that. If they're working in the game and they're looking at things properly and they're looking for the true ways to deal with things, absolutely fantastic. If they're moving forward, at least having a pop at it in the right way and progressing, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, that's what you've got to do. When it's nobody's fault that you haven't been in it very long, that's just when you learned about it. But it's your fault if you don't move forward, you don't progress. If you look at something that failed years ago and just keep spouting it like it's right, no matter how technically right it is, it's wrong, isn't it? And yes, they can argue the point and show you right at law where it's right. Yeah, it's right at law. Look, this is right at law. Absolutely. Is it going to do you any good? No. Well, it's wrong, isn't it? Because we're not talking about right and wrong at law, we're talking about the right and wrong process to get you the results that you require. That's the important thing. So right and wrong, there's a lot of wrong out there, and there ain't much fucking right out there. Now, one thing, as folks know with Project Jericho, it's getting very, very close, and it's a fantastic project. It's been great to work on, and very enlightening. But, well, it's into but on Project Jericho, it's fucking amazing. But, I'm going to use it anyway. What we are about to see is how corrupt this system is. Because the lower courts, yes, are dealing with administrative processes. We all know that. We're dealing with equity, and only equity, in Project Jericho. So when we go forward in equity, we are going to see if the highest courts in the land, the Queen's Bench, has been corrupted. Now, I know to some degree it has, in absolute. I know they positioned a master, excuse me, which is a transgender master, which would appear to me was placed there purely to allow this agenda to move forward for people claiming to be a frying pan. But again, you see, everything they do, they close a door and they open a door. The reality is, if you insist on being known being a frying pan, and that's it, we're not having it any other way. It's disgusting if you won't accept I'm a fucking frying pan. If that's the way you want to claim your status, and your status is now a frying pan, and they've bastardized the system to a degree and put a master in the Queen's Bench, or Chancery Division in particular, to ensure that everybody must now call you a frying pan. That's also opened a door for if you want to be called a man or a woman, hasn't it? Because it's not just fucking frying pans, is it? Because like, I called him a man, he wants to be called a fucking frying pan, so he's not a man anymore. We've got to accept that, or we're going to get huge fines or prison or took outside and publicly flogged. I don't know. But he's a frying pan, and that's it. The law states so I've got to state so. Well, in that case, I ain't a frying pan. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to be known as a frying pan. I'm a fucking man, and if it works one way, it works the other fucking way, don't it? It's good for the goose, it's good for the fucking gander. So there's things to think about. Doors are closing all the time, but other doors are opening all the time as well. And Project Jericho, the folks in there, are going to learn some absolutely fantastic pieces of evidence and case law on not claiming you're a frying pan, but on stating your status, whatever that be. A pot, a kettle. It is what it is, but that's what's to come there. But at the end of the day, it's still about your remedy, what you're after in there. Now, I've done lots of thinking about how we used to do things and how I do things now, and And I have not fallen out of love with the way I used to do things. I absolutely loved the way I used to do things, because it was denial of jurisdiction and denial of consent. There is no contract, there won't be a contract. And it was steadfast right at the beginning, at first point of claim, whereas they can't go forward, and it never went forward, so it was so successful. That's why it was so successful. So there is two aspects to what's going on, because I've thought long and hard. Now, if the judiciary is fucked at the highest level, Queen's Bench and Chancery level, going to play games, if they do, and they refuse to deal in equity, then to me, all hope is lost in courts, in the highest courts in the land. All hope is lost. So to me, you have to revert back to no consent, no joinder, and don't let it get to them lengths. That's the way. And also, you've also got to think as well, no matter what they do, if they take you into a court, they're putting you in service of the Crown. You are there, they are presuming you're a person, which is a consented, contracted person, which joinder has been given, so now they can conduct commerce. Commerce has to have equal consideration, doesn't it? Now, with equal consideration, that isn't about no consent. So I have had some thoughts on what possible ways I would go forward if all the courts are shut down. And equal consideration plays a huge part in this. Huge, because for starters, they're not going to get any consent but a conditional acceptance, obviously, because everything does. And then your consideration is going to put to it, and it's going to be monetary. For me to be in service of the Crown, I require paying, as everybody would, otherwise it'd be slavery, and that's repugnant to the law. So my consideration to this is £5 million, £10 million, and I won't be in service for the Crown for anything less. Now, they may think that's extortionate. I don't give a shit. You see, if I say to you, come to me, and for £1 million, I'll talk you through your shit, you're going to say, shut up, you fucking idiot. I'm going to say, okay, I'll shut up. There's no contract, there's no consideration, there's nothing going on. That's it. You can't contract with me if you don't accept my fees. It's as simple as that. Now, they may be high. That's my choice. That's my choice, because ultimately, it's like, here's my fee, or I'm not prepared to go to work. It's like your boss at work suddenly saying, oh, you're getting a pay cut to like 15 quid a week. You're gonna go, fuck off, you idiot. I'm not coming to work for 15 quid for a week work. And he's gonna say, don't come to fucking work then. And then you're gonna fuck off, because you're not going to work for 15 quid. That's commerce. That's commerce. So that's where it is. Now, should this happen, and I've thought long and hard on this, how to go through this, and I do have my study groups which will have everything that I do, and will know absolutely what I do, and because that's my honour. But for the masses, I'm planning on doing something that I've been asked quite a lot about anyway. I always get asked if I'll do a live, I'll go and talk, or people can meet me and things like that for a chat, and I just don't have time. So what I decided, if that is the case and if that's going to happen, if Project Jericho fails, I'm going to do a bit of a tour, and I don't know how long or how many. It might be a limited number that I fix right at the start. It might just be until people don't want to know anymore. I don't know. It depends whether I can be asked, or the shape of the world, what fucking happens, what happens with the bullshit war, the fake war, and what they do with people. If people can get fuel, because clearly some would have to travel. I can't go to everybody's home. So if that's the sort of thing folks would be interested, drop me a line on info@Trust Asset Protectors. Let's keep it clean, not to muddy the waters, and just to say yes, you'd be interested in that, and what sort of area you're in, so I can get some sort of idea. And obviously I'd have a shout out on here, and get some locations a bit closer, but just to get me some idea on what it'd take to do it and what I'd have to do. But that's a sort of plan in action. I think folks need to know some serious things, and the world is changing rapidly, and the system is changing rapidly. As we all know, they are destroying the system. But with the system being destroyed and getting destroyed, there's also a lot of changes with the judiciary, and these are the things we really need the answers on. Excuse me a minute while I open my gate. We really do need some answers at the top level, because we already know, like I say, the lower level, the magistrates, the county courts, they're absolutely fucked. But the Crown Courts, although if you left it to them and you just went in there with the usual old chat, yes, they'd roll straight over you. But as long as you stood your ground, you can still win in a Crown Court. But that's more of a criminal offence before you get into a Crown Court, because no magistrates are going to release you. You do have the right to a jury trial, a trial of you in front of your peers, presided over by a true judge, standing under an oath. But the reality is no magistrate's going to release you. It just isn't. Whether you stand there and you cite the exact laws why they have to, they're not going to. They're just going to make another appearance, and they're just going to keep doing that. They're going to put you on the merry-go-round, and it's just going to keep going and going and going until you slip up, until you make a mistake. That's what administrative courts do. Stay away from them. Stay away from them. So there's a bit of a glimpse into the future, but however, we've got a fantastic chance with Project Jericho, and the only thing that I see stopping it is the event that the highest courts in the land, the Queen's Bench and Chancery, have been bastardised to that level. I don't think it has. I'd like to think it hasn't, but we are going to find out very soon. Very soon. So anyway, that's the plan of action, folks. That's what I think. That's what we're going to do. So see what you think to a bit of that. On that note, anyway, as I'm home and knackered, just pushing my gate open, but I am only 2 weeks from heart surgery, so yes, expected. I'm gonna go. Look after yourself, and yeah, drop us a line, see what you think. So let's see what the interest is, because as folks know, I cut through the shit. I don't spin you in circles. I'm not going to fill you full of shit. I'm just gonna hit it exactly how it is and tell you exactly how it is. But as we see at the minute, anything that goes into a county court, you can forget. They're acting just like fucking magistrates now, and this is the progression of the New World Order, as it's slipping gently in with all these dumb fuckers who believe that there really is all these happenings in the world, and there are people fighting for your favour. Fuck me. You got to learn to navigate some shit. But you're not going to learn to navigate some shit listening to people who are spouting the shit that failed years ago. They're not bringing new methods to it. They're not bringing new ideas to it. And you can always take old information and revamp it and do something different with it. But if you're going to do the same old thing that failed for people years and years ago, you're going to get the same results. If you always do what you always did, you will always get what you always got. And that's a fact. It is a fact. So on that note, I'm going to do one. Have an absolutely fantastic one, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.